Next step on my gnome is I'm going to add a beard and some feet. So I'm going to set my gnome off to the side and I'm going to take a piece of clay and I'm going to start to flatten it. So it's been wedged and I just need to push it down against the table to get it flat so I can shape it into my beard shape. So now I have a nice piece of flat clay. It can be fairly thin for this step because we're going to attach it to the gnome. And then I'm going to put it kind of up here on my gnome to kind of get a good idea of where I need to cut it. So I want to cut around the nose. So just like for the hat part, I would start by cutting kind of a U shape. Okay, so then I'll put this down. And it works best to kind of gradually cut through the clay, not try to cut all the way through it at one time. And I'm working on my bag just so it keeps my table area a little bit more clean. So now I have the start of my beard could be like that. And now I know from the sides where I might draw my beard line. And it doesn't need to be symmetrical, just similar on both sides. And then I would start to cut this through again. Whenever you cut out a piece of clay, it does leave a fairly rough edge, so it's always good to go back and smooth those edges. It's sometimes easier to smooth them before I attach than trying to attach and then smooth, because you can hold it in your hands and really move it around as you need to find areas to smooth. Then I can go ahead and attach it. I'm going to try leaving mine kind of hanging down a little bit like this. Since this is going to become something that I'm going to hang up, I don't mind that this is a little bit longer, plus I have to add my feet. So as I'm working on it, I'm going to have to carefully keep it on its side like this. So now I'm ready to score. So just like the hat, we now know where we have to score. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit so it's right snug against his nose. And it looks like therefore I need to trim over here a little bit. So I'll use my tool and draw a line and then pinch that off. Oops, smooth that back out. Okay, and I can just lightly draw a line on the body shape where my beard is gonna go, and then kind of right here by the nose. And then I know I need to just score this. And then I would score the back side of this. I would use a little bit of water for my slip. Notice I use my finger in the water. I don't put my scoring tool in the water. That tends to make those wood styluses pretty soft, so I try to avoid doing that. And then I can gently squeeze this with my finger on the inside of my body pinch pot, and there I have the beard. Okay. Now, if you wanted this to sit on the table, you might have to make your beard not longer than your body. But I'm going to go ahead now, and even if mine kind of sat like that at an angle, that would be fine with me too. So now I'm going to go ahead and kind of clean this up before I move on to the next step of adding feet. It will save me a lot of cleanup at the end when I'm excited to be done. And if it's nice and smooth, it will be so much easier to paint. Okay, so now I'm going to add feet. So I'm just going to take a little bit more clay, and I want them to be the same size. And when I'm trying to make two things that are the same size, I usually start with the same amount of clay. So you can see I like rolled it into a coil and then I broke that coil in half, so each piece was the same. And then your feet are just gonna be kind of little oval shapes. So I would make one, and then I would try to repeat that same rolling method, shaping method, to make two that are the same size. I find it easier to have them both in front of me as I try to make them the same rather than attach one and then try to make one exactly the same later. So those are good. Let's see what if I put them on kind of right here and right here. That would work well for my little gnome guy. So I can score, they're gonna attach there and attach there. And then I would attach this part and this part. So I do need to scratch it up pretty good. It can't just be 2 or 3 little marks. And then I would make sure I push it in. Okay, that one's a good spot. And then I would do the same thing for this side. And there I have my feet attached. Okay. All right, so now I have my basic gnome shape, and I would start to add the details. I have a little candy cane that's gonna sit on this beard. So I'm gonna make that first.